Well, hello there. I'm back. I hope you didn't miss me. You know, these guys did a commendable job. I sat home in my lazy boy just watching. I didn't watch it Saturday morning, but I watched it a little later on in the day. And after they were done, you know what I did? I applauded. I really did. These guys got their SHIT together. Thank you. Fun. All right, today...
I don't like the way you said that, but go ahead.
Okay. Hello, my name is Dave Pila. Welcome to this new edition of News and Views, broadcast by Access LaPorte County on Public Access TV. We are a weekly public opinion program addressing local, state, and national topics and issues of interest to the Michigan City and surrounding areas. Opinions are the views and the responsibilities of those making comments do not necessarily reflect or represent the views. Do not necessarily reflect the views of this program or its co-producers. We will adhere to broadcast rules, but absolutely no one's First Amendment rights of freedom of speech or freedom of the press will be either muzzled nor denied. Any unauthorized use, accounts, descriptions, and events of this program without the express written consent of Larry Curdy or Schmo is strictly prohibited. We hope you enjoy the program, the discussion, and the participants. Ladies and gentlemen, where do we start? When I was on hiatus, I just did a little investigating. General budget balances, violation. Violation of paying employees' salaries from TIF funds, unauthorized TIF funds, but paying city salary, violation. Indiana Gateway, government units Gateway begin collecting information about tax incentive money starting in 2014, a violation. Utilization of TIF to support education in your community, violation. Indiana Code 36, local government 36.7.14.13 pertaining to well, just another violation. Because the TIF revenue has specific areas to be sent. The money from TIF has to be spent in specific areas, not the way the Redevelopment Commission is doing it. Indiana Code 36.7.25.7, it sort of started the whole mess, violation. Kevin McGuire's request for money for metal detectors from the Redevelopment Commission, kicked down the road 3 years, a violation. The parking garage. The parking garage, initially, the Redevelopment Commission initially wanted to float a $30 million bond to build the parking garage.
Now you're talking about the parking garage for the South Shore.
For the South Shore on 11th Street. And after I have made my approach to the Redevelopment Commission of when I was called a liar and I didn't know what I was talking about, that bond issue was reduced from $30,000 to $22,000 because it didn't conform with federal law, violation. The appropriation of money over the last 4 years of the Redevelopment Commission, $32,685,486.86. Where did that money go? Violation. This is bigger than me. And my next step is to basically, I talked to the Indiana Department of Government Finance. It's too big for them to handle. So the next step in my mind is to approach the Indiana State Board of Accounts and let them audit the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission for these various violations that I can document. Gentlemen?
Well, in my mind, that's where you should go with those. Is to the Indiana State Board of
That I agree, but I didn't have this ammunition behind me. You know, I could have told them where the bull set in the buckwheat, and if I didn't have documentation to back me up, they would have just laughed me out. You know, they laughed me out of the state.
Well, okay, I guess I could start. Again, Happy New Year to everybody. Hopefully this will be a very good year for all of us that live in Michigan City, and it looks like it's starting out that way with the situation with the train station, the South Shore Railroad. That should be completed this year. The data center probably will go in operation maybe a year from now, but they're pretty well along with it. And it looks like JW Marriott will be starting construction on a hotel on the north side of Michigan City. So the other thing I'm going to talk about for a few minutes is number one, the Indiana University football team, which will be playing 6:30 our time, Midwest time, in Miami. And they will be playing the University of Miami Hurricanes for the national championship. This is the first time an Indiana University football team has ever played for a national championship. They are a fantastic team with a fantastic coach, and a lot of us who are Indiana alums are very much looking forward to watching this game on TV. Now, why are we watching this game on TV? Well, first of all, the lowest price seat currently on StubHub is $3,893. The highest price seat, which will put you on the 50-yard line, $15,190. If you are an Indiana alum, long-suffering when it comes to football, some of you probably think that's worthwhile. And I guess if I didn't have children and grandchildren, I'd love to take my wife and go down there and watch that football game. I did do a little bit of research that I got off of TV as what the skyboxes might be going for, and it's up in the stratosphere, and they're no longer even showing skyboxes, so those have been bought out. But again, for those of you that want to watch the national championship, the collegiate national championship, 6:30 Monday night, Martin Luther King Day, on ESPN. One more time on ESPN.
Martin Luther King.
Second thing, the Chicago Bears are going to play on Sunday night. They will be playing the Los Angeles Rams in Soldier Field. And for them, the game time for them is 5:30 Central Standard Time. Now, as a comparison, now this is a pro game versus a college game. The lowest price seat there is $385. The highest price seat is $1,678. Apparently, a lot of people are thinking it's going to be very cold out there.
Different weather. Open stadium.
It is bare weather, yes. The Los Angeles Rams do have a problem because they have an extremely good quarterback in Matt Stafford, but apparently he has a spring finger on his right hand, which is going to make it a little more difficult to properly handle a football, especially if you're passing it for any kind of distance. So as a result of that, hopefully that will help the Bears. But again, it will be 5:30 Central Standard Time from Soldier Field, and it will be broadcast on ESPN. Any questions?
Well, let's go to the Bears. To the Bears.
Their seats are cheaper.
They're cheaper, and it's brutal cold, Bears weather. But, so the Bears are playing
I have sat there in brutal cold weather to watch the Bears, but I was 35.
Good
I'm
for
now
you.
85. I don't do
Not
those things
happening.
anymore.
And people want to sit in the skybox because it's in Miami and it's probably a little warm down there.
Yeah.
So they're going to sit in the skybox and watch the game, and air conditioning and food. But back to the Bears, the articles that are coming out, the Bears have a great season, have a great coach, have a great team, and they are looking to upgrade their stadium. So we have this game of who's going to blink first. We have an article from the Cranes Business, Chicago Crane Business says that Arlington Heights says to Illinois lawmakers, pass the mega project bill or wave goodbye to the Bears. It's great to be on this show and to be able to predict the future, even though we can't win the lottery. But we said this before on the show, that the Bears are looking at Indiana for leverage. And they're getting leverage, but in order to get leverage, they're going to have to spend some money. I predicted that they're going to spend somewhere around $10 million in Indiana in various activities before they convince Illinois that we are really thinking about leaving. They have made great strides because now they have a prominent law firm that's a lobbyist for the Bears at the State House. And they have a bill in the State House that creates the Northwest Indiana Stadium area to look at potentially bringing the Bears here. So they are doing everything we thought they would do. Doesn't mean they won't come. They still might. I think it's a small chance, but I think they really want, A, Illinois to pay them $1 or $2 billion for their new stadium. B, make sure Arlington Heights is a place to go to that is friendly, or Chicago is friendly in updating their stadium, whatever it may be. So the Bears are doing great. It's great for their negotiation. I think Illinois will bend the knee as much as they can to pay anything to keep the Bears in Illinois and in Chicago. I don't know if it'll work because I think there's lots of money to be made by moving the Bears to Arlington Heights. And if you move the Bears to Arlington Heights, you see what every other community has done. They have Las Vegas, LA, they have a whole area for sporting events. It includes food, they capture all the money, and Arlington Heights is big enough to have the Bears, the Bulls, the Blackhawks, maybe one Major League Baseball team, and Chicago is going to be in a world of hurt. But that doesn't mean Illinois and Chicago won't have an answer. That's why I think the Bears need to be careful, because if they supposedly move to Arlington Heights and they give them $1 billion or $2 billion, I can guarantee you the legislature will find a way to take that money and redirect it back to Chicago.
Yeah, more than likely.
All right, well, I want to bring the topic back to the local level.
Okay.
IU football.
This is the local level.
IU
You got all
football.
kinds of sports
The
fans out there.
Bears are in Lake County. Okay, they can again. I want to get back to IU football and Notre Dame football, and what sour losers are on the side of Notre Dame. You look at the center of IU's football team. I don't recall the guys, the
Pat
kids.
Tugget.
Okay, but he was a cast-off from the University of Notre Dame.
Really?
He didn't have.
He wasn't a cast-off.
Well, he did get picked up.
He wasn't eligible for a starting assignment from the University of Notre Dame. Notre Dame is nothing more than big business, and they deserve what they got to finish 11th in a rating of college football teams. And again, look at the old grunts, the linemen. In high school, I was a lineman. I happened to be a center in Peruco. In grade school, I happened to be a football center. But the fact of the matter is, those grunts deserve all of the kudos that they can get. And what's it, Szigeti?
Yeah, Kurt Szigeti.
Kurt Szigeti, the coach. I can't applaud him enough, because basically what he's done was took a group of kids, regardless, on 25 or less, and basically implanted in their minds a new attitude, a new direction, a new way of doing things, cooperating together rather than criticizing you and you and you and you. He said, let's take a new attitude and let's try it this way. And you know what? He succeeded. Maybe the football coach of Notre Dame should maybe take the same concept, because he had a little adverse publicity with his son on a wrestling team. Again, it's difficult to be a public figure and then go to a event pertaining to your son or daughter for high school athletics, and somebody might have said something that got under his skin. But his skin has to be thicker than that, and he should learn to take new attitude and maybe just walk away, rather than continually perpetuating this particular problem. That's my issue.
Well, the fun thing with IU and the game they're playing against Miami, Notre Dame didn't get in because they lost to Miami.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So now they get to play Miami, and Miami was not a top seed. What, 10 seed?
No, 10th or 11th.
10. They're one of the last seeds to get in, and Notre Dame was complaining that they weren't treated right. But now we see the evidence is clear. Miami is in the final, and Miami beat Notre Dame. So fair is fair.
Regardless of who made the decision for Notre Dame not to participate in the other bowl games, that just sour grapes. It's like a bunch of kids, affluent kids, taking their ball and going home because they didn't get their way.
What does that say to the students and the student athletes?
That is correct.
That we don't like the decision, so we are going to walk
what
away.
impression does that set? That's pathetic.
And Notre Dame is a religious institute. They should have said, "Well, we're not happy with it. We will play within the system which we agreed to, and we will teach our kids that sometimes you don't win and you play ahead."
And a simple analogy, work within the system to better the system. But Notre Dame, since they didn't get their way, They went against that philosophy.
Well, they have the opportunity to leave their system and make their own system.
Well, yeah, they can play with whomever they want to play because they're an independent organization. Maybe what they should do is start scheduling the Division II and Division I, or Division III and Division IV teams on their schedule so that they could be 10-0, 12-0, 14-0 every year, so that they can perpetuate the same concept over and over and over again. If you want to be good, you follow the rules. A similar situation. Look at Minnesota. And
Well, this is not similar. Minnesota.
it's following following the rules, following the letter of the law. You've got people who are chronically complaining about issues that pertain to the letter of the. They're opposed to allowing the letter of the law from taking place. They're opposed, and it's wrong.
Well,
It's
they've got so much fraud in Minnesota.
It's more than following the letter of law.
That's right.
It's doing what's right.
Doing what's right. That's
the law
right.
is there as a base level. You need to rise
It's the foundation,
above.
right? And you've got people protesting this and protesting that, and it's again bringing that same analogy back here to Michigan City. You've got people approaching the Michigan City Council complaining about Phoenix. Because the amount of glare that their illumination for their property is,
Well, the lights are on all night.
their lights are on all
Shouldn't
night,
be either.
and they're shining in their bedroom. So this lady is complaining that because the light for economic development is shining in her bedroom, she's opposed to the position. We got problems out
Well, the
there.
council should have said, thank you, that's not something they should do. We will make sure they turn their lights
Sure,
off at 8
or
o'clock.
put shields,
Or
blinders
screen
on.
it off or
Sure.
something. But yeah, but to be opposed to the whole thing because of a small problem, I don't know. But wait, we can go to database because what was the news yesterday? Another data center in the city of LaPorte on 110 acres.
Yeah.
In industrial land.
Now this brings into the picture that Tony, I got a news flash on my
Big day, big news day.
electric utility service territories. I brushed through it quickly, and if I read this properly, and these entities are now possibly being able to purchase electricity from elsewhere.
There's a bill to allow free market ability to buy electric across the market from whoever you can get, because we have in our bill, right? In our utility bill, it says transportation costs and then actual energy costs. If we truly have a transportation cost, we should allow, because we've spent billions of dollars connecting our grids together, we should allow whoever it is we should buy power from. But that's either a good thing or a bad thing. Right now we can buy our gas from different people, right? You can choose your gas provider, but I can't choose my electric provider? I don't know. So the state is looking into this. I think between the powers that be, they're not going to let this go through, but at least it's a first salvo. There's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players here. Do you think 6 players are going to want to share their market with anyone else?
Well, I'm going to bring up another point on this one. The interesting point to me was it looks like about 80% of the state of Indiana is serviced either by AEP or by Duke Energy.
Two players.
Both of those are nuclear. So obviously the state of Indiana is getting a lot of its power through the nuclear system, which means that a lot of the state of Indiana is going to pay lower rates because of the availability of nuclear energy than we're going to pay here in LaPorte County.
Yeah, the greatest
At some
person
point,
is
yeah.
Duke.
Yeah, well, Duke and
By far.
Yeah.
Duke's
all nuclear.
Duke is nuclear and AEP is nuclear. And you can see between 2 or 3 people, providers, that's probably 90% of the people. 3 people control. Is that a good situation that 3 people control a vast majority of the state of electricity?
Well,
That's probably not a good idea. That's all your eggs, and 3 eggs is all the basket.
Well, don't we have a
Probably not a
community?
good idea.
Yeah, don't we have a community here in LaPorte County, Kingsford Heights?
Well, I was wondering about the REMC.
That's-
They don't have
that's-
on
yeah,
here.
right.
The Kankakee Valley, but Kingsford Heights
Yeah.
controls their own utility, but they buy power from NIPSCO.
So basically, they've already benefited possibly from this concept by
Well, their
lower
old
electrical.
concept that they own their poles,
That
they
is-
own
yeah.
their transmission lines, and they buy power. So they do They do what the bill's at. They're already doing that right now.
And so based on that concept, just maybe the little town of Kingsford Heights could be a future site for these gigantic
Data center.
data centers, because they've already circumvented the grid by
Well,
what
they
they're
have the
doing.
ability to buy whoever they want, but they're going to have to pay a transportation cost for whoever owns the high tension power lines, because they have to get it to them. They control within Kingsford Heights, but there's high tension power lines that run all across this nation that people put electric on
That's the grid, right?
the grid, and they have to buy power off the grid.
But regardless, maybe Kingsford Heights is already a step ahead.
I think they are.
See? And more people should be looking at that concept, because where is Kingsford Heights on this map?
Well, it's in
A
LaPorte
speck
County.
of dust
Right in
someplace?
the middle of LaPorte. Right in the middle of LaPorte.
Right in the middle of LaPorte?
Pretty much in the middle of LaPorte.
See, what's to say that that concept couldn't be
Pretty
expanded?
much in the middle of LaPorte County.
LaPorte County.
Yeah, what's to say that concept couldn't be expanded here in LaPorte County?
Well, we'd have to own our own power lines and our own utility poles.
You'd have to buy those.
You're either going to rent them from the person that owns them, or you're going to put your new ones up. But I think the state doesn't want a pole after a pole after a pole in the right of way. So right now, what happens? Many different people own utility poles. It's not NIPSCO. It's the telephone company, the cable company. Many different people own utility poles everywhere in America, and they have licensing agreements to have attachments on these poles. You see lots of things: cable, phone, electric. Usually, electric's the highest one because keep it safe. It's the top one. It's the top rung. So you'd have to enter an agreement to allow a different electric line to run on these poles, or enter an agreement to use their electric line to pass through, because we do with natural gas. We only have one natural gas line, and different people could put natural gas in the system, and they pass it through their lines, and we pay the transportation charge.
Would there
Kingsford
be?
Heights owns their poles and their lines.
Okay, as far as ownership of the poles, if that situation is settled, and a fee is set, couldn't there be potential financial windfall for us consumers if this concept would be initiated?
I think this concept is the beginnings of what we saw last legislative session with the ability to look into nuclear power, small nuclear reactors. I think this concept is the next step, that we are able to buy power from whoever is producing it. And I mean, not just the big 5 or 10 providers. This could be somebody who has a solar field, somebody has a battery field, somebody has a micronuclear reactor. This is all new technology and I was happy to see in the article, they said it right out of my mouth, it's a paradigm shift. This is a shift in the way we are thinking from a few people producing power and the ability through technology to have many people producing many different kinds of kilowatts of electricity, that we should be able to maybe, I talked to some people, said maybe this is the start of, if I produce power in my field and I have solar electricity, I'm allowed to give it to a nonprofit, give it to a church so they can have less utility bills. Maybe if I feel good, I want to give it to the municipality so they can save money on their taxes. I think this has opened up the door to a paradigm shift, a way of thinking that we don't just get power from a big source that makes all the power and sends it out there. There could be, this is kind of the Bible story, the loaves and the fishes. Lots of people to get together, and we all work together and make a lot of little power each, but on the whole is enough for the community. I think this is the start of that.
And you look at this map between NIPSCO and Indiana and Michigan, which of these two that encompasses roughly a third of the state, which of these two have already established nuclear power?
AEP.
See?
AEP.
So the door is, somebody is making inroads to
Yep.
making our lives better. And if we don't continue to pursue and capitalize on this concept, then we'll be paying higher utility bills. Is that what you want?
Because right here, if businesses have more options for buying energy, competition will lower prices.
Correct.
America is founded on competition and capitalism. What we have right now going on in the state of Indiana is you have no choice in your electricity. You either buy it from the person in your area or you don't get it.
And again, the same concept that I applied to the city of Michigan City about taking a new attitude on this particular electrical issue with the state of Indiana. Maybe they have to take a new attitude because there may be a better mousetrap out there that they could take advantage of.
There is. Other states are already doing this. Michigan's doing this.
Really?
Other states are already doing this. But here we go. The Indiana Energy Association, right, big lobby firm, says that energy choice policies can lead to unpredictability for companies and utilities. So they're already laying the groundwork. And I can tell you those lobbyists are already in their ears that we don't want to do this because it would erode our ability to force people to buy electricity from us. Good or bad? I don't know.
Well, first of all, let me go back to Notre Dame because I never got the chance.
Okay.
Notre Dame is a school that down through the years has well established themselves as being a powerhouse in the area of collegiate football.
When's the last time they won?
They generally do have winning seasons.
Yeah, Lou Holtz, yeah.
Well, but that's a national championship. But they generally do have winning seasons.
Credibility, no,
Well,
Bob,
now let me finish.
credibility is a factor,
Time out.
and what they showed this year, they don't have credibility as far as I'm concerned.
Time out. When you look at credibility, you have to look at a couple of things. Number one, you have to look at how many recruiting violations do they have. Notre Dame is on the bottom of the list in terms of recruiting violations.
Now wait a minute. They had a betting scandal last year that no one talked about.
I mean, but that's basketball.
Well, they didn't say it was sports.
Oh,
There were some people that had a scandal in Notre Dame and they did not.
well,
It got covered over. So anyway,
the betting
credibility.
scandal, if it is one, has been in basketball. They have very few recruiting violations when it comes to football. Now, the center that you're talking about, Pat Coogan, who went to Indiana, he went to Indiana because at Notre Dame, and I think this was a positive for him, they said, look, we've got good players in here. You're going to have to compete for that job at center. Now, this is why I like the portal, because Pat could make the decision that, okay, I think I can go someplace else and get a better deal, which he did. He put his name in the portal. Indiana, Curt Cignetti picked him up, and he's been a real positive for Indiana. This gives players the opportunity, when they think they're not being treated fairly, to do things like that.
And Indiana has recruited through the portal 15 kids so far this year.
Yeah.
And they're the top dog. They're the top dog for 2026 to be.
Because they're a powerhouse,
They're a
and it
powerhouse.
gives their student athletes.
You don't give
money.
away. You don't give away. You don't give away your good talent.
Well, they already had talent.
Notre Dame basically by telling this kid
Well, they had
that
a
he's
center.
not good enough.
Well, no, they
He
had a
didn't tell him
center.
he wasn't good
Oh,
enough. He
baloney.
said he was going to have to
They-
compete.
He doesn't have to wait. They had a center.
Look what he's doing for Look what he's doing for IU right now.
That's exactly why we have this situation. It's a positive situation for the players, and he took advantage of it. So have a lot of other players. That's not a problem for Notre Dame. They allowed him to do that. That's like your boss coming to you and saying, look, looks like we're going to expand, but we're not quite sure that you're going to be able to go along with the expansion. So, you know, if you want to...
They gave him a 4-year
Time out.
scholarship.
Time
They gave
out.
him a 4-year scholarship, and after 3 of those 4 years, they're saying you're not good enough. That's baloney.
No, he was
He
waiting
would
in
have
line.
still had his scholarship. He would have still had his scholarship had he chose to stay at Notre Dame. He chose to go through the portal. This is the same as in private industry. And you start to see where, you know, they may not want me the next 2 or 3 years. I better go out and start looking. And your boss says, yeah, looks like there could be a problem here. Just go out and start looking. That's what he did. And he was a big success as a result of doing it. And I think he's going to go a lot higher in the pro draft as a
Yes.
result of doing it. And he will make a lot more money. Okay, that's one set. Now, the other thing about Notre Dame is they also graduate a lot of their recruits. So that now we're going to see how this works with the new system. But in the old system, Notre Dame had one of the highest graduation rates in football of most major colleges. You don't only have to look at the business situation, which they have a business office to do that with, and the business office made a decision. Is it worthwhile for us, Notre Dame, to go out and compete in the situation for a national championship when we're going to go to stadiums where we are only going to get 5 or 10% of the fees from the attendance? When Notre Dame plays at home, they get 70% of the attendance fees. Why take a chance on having 1 or 2 of your star players get hurt in this and all of a sudden you lose them, and now you got a problem for next year. That's a business decision. They made that decision. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
There was a business decision made that Notre Dame, when they gave him a 4-year scholarship, they had a moral obligation to continue to pursue this kid and his ability. They gave him a chance to get walked into the door before the season started in his 4th year. They said there's somebody coming up that you're going to be replaced. That's baloney.
They didn't say they were
a 4-year obligation, a contractual obligation was signed between the University of Notre Dame and this kid.
to allow him 4 years. He had his 4th year.
4 years playing football.
He had his 4 years if he wanted to keep it. He didn't keep it. He decided, I'm better off in Indiana. And that is the smart decision. It was for him. It's going to be for a number of other players where you've got this portal. You've got to see how that works. But Pat made a big decision that will be real positive for him when it comes to...
It might not have been a positive. He might have gone,
Maybe he was the deciding factor rather than becoming 11th team on the list. He might have, with his contribution, he could have been maybe 4th or 5th team on the list.
What he got to show at Indiana and still showing is his leadership skills.
Correct.
He would have been offset by a lot of other players.
And Notre Dame didn't see that.
Notre Dame didn't see that.
But one of the things you need is a center who has good leadership skills, because that center has to be able to tell the...
A lot of responsibility.
Yes.
Right.
And he got to show that at Indiana. He made the smart decision. It's like a person that goes from one job to another one. Are you making a good decision or are you making a bad decision?
And the way I see it, you got a bunch of prima donnas sitting over there in South Bend.
Well, I think you're right. You hit the nail on the head. That yes, you play a risk of going to a bowl game or not. And I think Notre Dame should have done the right thing and played the bowl game. Not just for them, but to show everybody that there's no sour grapes. We played the system. We will play our bowl game. And it gives the student athletes on the team some more national coverage, because we know all the money now is in name, image, and likeness.
Correct.
And not letting them play a bowl game is a direct result of them possibly not earning as much money as name, image, and likeness. And I think that's going to hurt them, that people see that, a recruit's going to come in and says, okay, if Notre Dame doesn't get their way and to play the football championship, then I know they're going to refuse to play a bowl game, which hurts me as a player in my name, image, and likeness. It might hurt me in my draft. So I better think twice about going to Notre Dame. That's why I think Notre Dame, I think it will work upon itself. The system will work itself out, because they made their decision, but I don't think it was a very good decision for Notre Dame.
No, it was very selfish on their part.
Now let me tell you the other part of that. If you're Notre Dame, you're looking at these players, you're looking at maybe 3 or 4 or 5 outstanding players. What happens if 1 or 2 of them get hurt in playing in these games and can't play next year? The other thing that can happen is they get hurt so bad with knee injuries, with various kinds of leg and arm injuries, that they cannot get to the pros, because the pros won't take you if you have those kinds of injuries, or they will put you in the 7th round rather than the 1st or 2nd round. They also have a responsibility to their players to make sure that they're not putting them in a position where they could get seriously hurt and not be eligible for a lot of other things that they're going to be able to take advantage of. I don't think it was a great decision, but I think it was a fair decision by Notre Dame.
I think you might save 2 or 3 star players who might get hurt. And let me go to the logic of that. Let me go to the logic. A coach doesn't want their players to play in a bowl game because they might get hurt playing the game, the football game in which they are playing. I mean, the logic is zero there. So, yes, he wants to save them for the next season, but he's also at the cost that telling the new recruits that come in, if we don't get to the national championship, you're not going to play in a bowl game. And they might think, just like the center did, well, then I'm going to go to IU, because I know if IU doesn't win or national champion, I'll still get to play in a bowl game. Yes, I might get hurt, but I might get hurt playing the game of which I play all season long.
And he made that decision, not the school.
Yeah, he made that decision, and it was a very smart
very good decision.
It had a lot of risk to it, but Notre Dame missed out because they let him leave.
But that's Notre Dame's decision.
And I think that was a poor decision. I think every decision was poor for them, and I think they're going to have to accept becoming a member, because in my estimation, you can help me, Notre Dame has its own contracts and its own revenue discussions. the Big East, the Big Ten, the Sky East, the Sky West, whatever, they have their own discussions, which they share amongst themselves. And Notre Dame is odd man out. So they're going to have to decide whether they'd like to continue to be odd men out, and if that's going to make them more money, or if they'd like to join the Big East or the Big Ten and be part of a 10 or 15 or 20 member team and get their share of the bigger pot. It's a financial discussion.
Well, the Big Ten would have to take a look at that because the Big Ten already has 18 members.
Yeah.
It's no longer the Big
It's
Ten.
for them. Do I want 1/18th of something, or do I want 100% of something small? I don't know.
Okay, I will just say this, and Bob's not going to like this, but if I was a true IU fan and I bled red 120 or 130% above and beyond my blood type, I would say nothing contrary to the university that I graduated from.
Well,
And when you're supporting the Notre Dame concept, are you truly an IU fan?
What the Notre Dame concept was, we're not going to play. Indiana's concept was, we are going to play. I'm very happy with that concept.
And you look at
But
who's...
that doesn't mean Notre Dame made a bad decision. I think Indiana made a very good decision. I think Kurt Cignetti made some great decisions on the players he recruited. So as a result of that, yes, Indiana's going to play, and they're doing great.
Win, lose, or draw. Win,
But
lose, or
you've got a
draw.
right not to play if you think you're going to hurt yourself.
You got a right not to play if you're going to think you're going to hurt yourself on the game of which you want to play.
A contractual
yourself
obligation.
in the long run.
A contractual
They're
obligation
going to hurt themselves
between
any day
between
in the wrong one. They're playing football. It's a hard-nosed, tough, get-hurt sport.
Oh,
and
yeah.
if you're gonna back out because you think you're going to get hurt in a bowl game, and you're going to hold yourself over to the next season, are you really a football player? Are you willing to put it on the line, or you just want to make
football
money?
Players don't make that decision. The business.
Maybe Notre Dame University should continue to schedule Northern Illinois football teams, bring them in, pay them $1 million so that they can beat them.
Northern Illinois has a pretty good football team.
Northern
See, that's what I'm getting.
Notre Dame invited these people in. They gave them $1 million, and they lost to them.
See, that's what I'm getting. Okay, let's go. 2 points. If your agent's making that choice because your agent wants to get paid, he doesn't want you to get hurt. He wants you to play the next season of football, whatever it's college or national football. That's like saying, okay, and I'm going to say this, and I've said this before, the Bears ain't going to the Super Bowl. So if they know they're not going to the Super Bowl, that'd be like saying, hey, I'm a top-tier player in the Bears, and I know we're not going to the Super Bowl, so I'm not going to play the playoffs because I want to play next year. No, they play the playoffs. They don't bench them.
You're talking about a professional situation.
We got the college peoples are professional. Sorry, they're getting paid. They get name, image, license.
But
That game is over.
They're certainly not professionals to the extent that the
They're
Bears.
getting paid.
But for the Bears, the opportunity to win a national championship, to win a Super Bowl, is so big that maybe something would happen that they would be able to do it. Just like in this game they're going to play on Sunday. Really bad weather. The other team has a quarterback that sprung one of his right fingers in a game last week. As a result of that, if it's very cold weather, his ability to grip a football is not going to be the same as it is in a dome.
His ability for his bones to break are going to be higher.
Yeah.
It's cold.
Yeah. Well, that
Really?
is the things that a team like the Bears has got to look at. Just the opportunity to play in one of those games is a huge amount of money for the Chicago Bears, which, by the way, are privately owned. They are not a conglomerate.
It's a huge amount of money for the Notre Dame to play in a bowl game too that they turned down.
Well, it's
They could have commanded a lot of money. A lot of people would have watched the Notre Dame bowl game.
Well, we
they
think
said
so,
no.
but we're not sure.
They said
but
no.
anyway, these are decisions that are made on a business basis. They have an individual component to them, but they also have a business component to them. Pat Guget made an individual decision, a great decision. But
Yeah.
Notre Dame may have made
They made a
we'll
bad-
never
they made
know,
a poor
May
decision.
have made the right decision if they didn't lose their quarterback in a bowl game. Go ahead.
I think Notre Dame made a poor decision and on a lot of fronts. And they need to make some better decisions. And I think it will hurt them in the recruiting class. If a recruit is looking at Notre Dame and thinking if they don't get the chance to play the national championship, they're not going to even let them play a bowl game. And they need that TV time to maybe prove themselves, to either get name, image, likeness contracts, or to get the possibility to get recruited for a national pro team. And my coach and my college says no, we're not doing it because we don't have the chance to play for the championship. I think that was a disservice to the students they're recruiting, and I think they will pay.
Well, we'll see. We'll see the kind of recruits that come in. But I got a feeling Notre Dame's going to have.
But Notre Dame has a good coach. I think they got a great coach. I think Signetti's a better coach. Not by much, but I think he's an awesome coach because he was smart enough to see the potential talent that Notre Dame did not. And it was probably a hard decision, not for Signetti. He didn't have two guys to pick from. He had this one guy who was ready to go. So it was easy for him to pick this guy. And it was hard for Notre Dame to pick because he's got two guys. I got to pick one who's a little better than the other. And the other guy, if I don't pick him, he's going to say, sayonara, I'm going to somebody else. But that's the choice I have to make. And that guy was very smart. He took a tough choice. Who thought IU was going to be in the national championship? Probably a soul in the world thought they were going to be and be as good as they are.
And look at what
I didn't.
Look at what part of IU's team came from. James Madison. Signetti brought some of James Madison's kids over, and they still finished in what the top
Because the
15 or
coach
20.
is
Correct.
critical.
Correct.
And getting talent that is about the same caliber to produce at a national level. It's the coach.
But it's also the way the coach recruits and the school behind
Yes,
the individual.
the school behind the individual, whether he's going to let them complain and not get their way, or he's going to tell them, we're going to do what's right, you're going to fight with your teammates, and we're going to win the national championship, you're going to put yourself to the side, and we are going to work together as a team to do what's right, and when we do that, we will win. And the university has to be behind that.
I also want to talk, because we've gotten into a lot of football stuff here, about the situation with power lines. When we talk about the various kinds of nuclear power that you might be able to use, the other thing we have to be aware of is the transmission of that nuclear power on various lines. When you start to use those limited nuclear power plants, do the lines that they're going to put the transmission into have the capability to take a nuclear power transmission, or do we have to get new lines? Can they service the kinds of businesses, the kinds of individual homes that people have in their area? Can they step down their transmission lines to the point that they can take them into individual homes, to the time will they be able to take them into small businesses in their area? There could be a significant expense in those situations, and that's one of the things you have to look at.
Yeah, you want clean power.
Yeah, didn't NIPSCO
Consistent
just
power.
these last 2 or 3 years, haven't they enhanced their big poles?
Yes, they have more transmission
upgraded.
lines.
They have there had to be some reason.
But you want clean, consistent power. If a data center senses any change in their power, they automatically, instantly shut it off and switch to a clean, consistent power so it doesn't destroy their hard drives and their network. And that spikes the power on the power line, which the power companies have to make sure they don't spike our power in our house. You have to have clean, consistent power.
So you won't have that surge.
There's no surge. A surge can wipe out, you got your phone charging up, could wipe out your phone. And that is the responsibility of the utilities, well, the transportation people, to make sure that these surges, and you see them all over, you look all over wherever you drive, you look up, you see power poles, you see round boxes on top of the power poles, right? They are there to stop a surge and keep your power clean and consistent. Because power on a line can go up and down, voltage, it can change dramatically, but we don't want it in our house. The data centers will not accept it at all in their data center. A manufacturing facility cannot do with something that's clean and consistent. So that is a big problem.
So what's to say that because of all of these upgrades of
One more
NIPSCO?
time, I want to talk just a little bit about the cost if you don't have this capability going in. So if you have to redo these transmission lines, if you have to redo these junction boxes to handle the surges, how much will that cost? That also has to be a factor in deciding whether or not you're going to use this particular power company. You not only have to look at the cost out for the product that comes out of that, you also have to look at the cost to get that to the user. That was my point.
I'm under the impression that NIPSCO has already upgraded their system.
Everyone has.
So it's when you take into
Is it big enough though? We don't know.
Well,
The power that data centers are asking is enormous.
well, again, we go back to Kingsbury. okay, the Kingsbury concept, and that's located in LaPorte County. Are the power lines adequate here in
Well,
LaPorte?
Kingsbury's easy to figure out. Kingsford Heights.
I'm sorry, yeah,
Kingsford Heights,
Kingsford Heights.
because they know within a little area what the max and the minimum power is going to go. Now we start adding data centers, that max gets out of control. It's a power, an infinite power of need that the lines will heighten and fall down. And we as residentials we know about what our power is going to be every hour, every day. They know. But a data center, those spikes, and I think the transmission lines can handle it, but can you consistently make it the same power across the system? And you could even overrun, they use big transistors, you could overrun those and explode. How many times have you been in the city where a squirrel got into one and blew up a transformer box, or one got hit by lightning and blew up? The explosion, you hear that many neighborhoods away. The explosion is intense because that power will create such an energy explosion. We can't have that, and once it's gone, then our power's down.
There had to be some impetus behind NIPSCO upgrading their system. Somebody must have known something. And,
Well, they ever knew it was coming. They looked at Virginia. They know it was
yeah,
coming.
and just maybe NIPSCO is on the forefront of spreading their wings because they have an upgraded system to make this whole scenario work and provide additional electricity for the data centers.
What is the old saying? Hope is not a plan. You have to have a plan for this. We have to know what these costs will be when you start into that. Well, I'll just go back. Hope is not a plan. Understanding what the cost will be and do we have it available is something we have to know. And the Indiana Utilities Regulatory Commission has also got to know that information.
Only time will tell, but when we have nuclear generating capacity in the state of Michigan, and where they are in location to St. Joe County, we're, in my mind, within an area ripe for potential growth.
AEP is in
Correct.
Are they ripe for something else? I'm going to go back to Bob. Are they ripe for something else? This people here, are they ripe for maybe a takeover?
Yeah, well, I've
With
said that
either-
several times.
Either Duke
Well,
or ComEd or AEP? Is NIPSCO, and this is not just NIPSCO. I've seen many companies in my life. They grow really fast and big, and they take the risk of, if I have 500 franchises, that it looks good, I'm trying to get myself to be bought out by somebody else. So if NIPSCO's upgrading their power lines because they're bringing in more energy and data centers, and their books look better, I guarantee, and not that they're going to happen, but I guarantee that one of the options is to be taken over by a bigger producer.
I would tell you bought out in terms of the electrical, but not in terms of the gas business, because I don't know what their plans are for the future in terms of their natural gas business, but they have got a great natural gas business and franchise.
Yep.
Are you saying that
They could easily sell off their electrical situation to
And make more
either
money
Duke
on gas.
Energy or AEP, and have the
Or
money to
ComEd.
invest it in, or ComEd, and have the money to invest it into their natural gas situation.
Well,
more
yeah.
gas lines and that type.
That's all I'm saying. Based on this map, do you want Duke Energy to be the complete controller of everything in the state of Indiana? That's a monopoly.
Duke Energy does.
Well, Duke Energy does right.
Of course they do.
Well,
we don't probably. We'd rather go with AEP.
Whoa. Duke Energy only does if they have the transmission lines and
But
the power.
I'm basing
coming
on
out
the
of their
color of the
nuclear
map here.
Facilities.
Okay, I'm basing on the color of the map.
Yeah, I don't want it, but I'm sure Duke Energy would like. I'm sure AEP would like. I'm sure ComEd would like.
So there
They
has
would
to be
like to
there
grow.
has to be some impetus behind what NIPSCO did to upgrade their system.
In every business, if you're
Yeah.
not growing, you're dying.
Yeah.
So the course, and NIPSCO would like to have a takeover that makes them money and put their money in gas.
Yeah.
It works for them too. We don't. It probably doesn't help us out any, but this bill or a bill in the future comes along will help us out because we have the opportunity to buy energy from anyone on the market. And I'm not just saying that the energy utility, an energy provider could be someone who has a field of solar, or somebody has a micro nuclear reactor, or whatever technology comes out in our lifetimes, because it's changed dramatically. And maybe we have the opportunity to buy, maybe one neighborhood controls its own destiny by selling, making electricity and selling it to themselves. And they don't have a provider. Who knows? Who
I'm
knows what can
just saying, I see this as potential progress.
happen. Yeah.
Potential progress.
It's risky because we don't. That's what the article says. It's a tall order. It's a risky bet. Free market savings or a risky bet.
But it's less risky if you know all of the costs. What you have to do is decide how much do we need to.
A risk analysis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a risk analysis.
Yeah, and
What will that cost?
it should be this concept shouldn't be cast aside. That's all I'm saying.
And I think they're not. I think it just won't go through this time, but it'll come at
Impetus
some
to
point.
start, yeah.
It'll come at some point, and will we work the bugs out of it? Because I think the days of one big conglomerate and 5 electric generating plants are gone. I think the loaves and the fishes, you'll have lots of small plants, and that will consistently give you good, clean energy.
Or you will have 4 or 5 conglomerates that supply the great big industries. And you will have, under that, you will have a lot of small type utilities that supply individual homes, small businesses.
I think that's the safest bet.
Yeah.
That's the safest bet. That the small utility users don't have to get with these megawatt users that the big guys will be able to produce.
Yeah.
Well, didn't Trump come with a concept about the mega people pay a different rate off of the grid versus the regular
Well, that's the whole
consumer?
point of this discussion.
Go ahead.
Does the mega user, megawatts, the big user have to pay if they walk away? Are we all holding the bill? And we don't need to be holding
No.
the bill if a megawatt user walks away and says sorry. And I'm not just saying they walk away because they're bankrupt. They might walk away because whatever the rule is, every 2 years technology gets twice as fast and half the cost.
Well, that's one of the things that happened to NIPSCO, but the companies didn't walk away. The steel industry is not near what it was. When
They got more
NIPSCO
efficient.
Yeah.
Efficiency drove.
Well, not only that, there's much more competition in the steel industry than there was 75 years ago. So the number of people employed in the steel industry is down significantly than was employed in the steel industry 50, 75
And then it
years
kind of
ago.
boomeranged because we went from coal and gas-fired mills to arc reactors, which were electric.
Yeah.
And that created an imbalance. It's an energy balancing act that's very hard. And NIPSCO does a good job in gas. Their electrics are high, and this might change. I think even if the bill doesn't go past, I think it's great, and I think that was what's happening right now. It was introduced, and they are on notice.
But the other thing that happened to NIPSCO, it wasn't just the steel plants. It was also very large manufacturing facilities that was lost in the NIPSCO area. I'm talking about Alice Chalmers, Pullman, Bud Company, and a number of others that were employed maybe up to as many as 2,000 people. Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the loaves and the fishes. This is going to be the loaves and the fishes show. NIPSCO, I think, and I don't know what the numbers are, and every utility probably lost their electric quantity of electricity because technology got more efficient in every one of our homes. We all went from tube TVs to big CRT TVs. Now we have LCD TVs. We have lights that use 1/10 of the power, and you take that. What's Michigan City? 30,000 people? How many light bulbs they switched over to LEDs, and TVs that no longer need CRTs, and computers that don't require that power? If every house reduced its consumption by 20% over the whole network, they lost a huge amount of users. Okay, we got a short
And I
amount of
will
time.
buy that one because we lost population.
We lost population, technology
But
got
in
faster.
some areas, if you go down to Texas, Florida, places like this, they gained a lot of population. So the efficiency that was built into the system
Yeah.
became a positive because you had a lot more people signed up for it.
You didn't get overrun.
Yeah.
And technology does that. That's why I say careful when you talk about anything. We need to look at the future. We don't look at what we just doing today or 10 years or 20 years ago. We need to look at potential future, even if we can't figure out what technology is going to do. Dave?
Well, I change the subject back to the Redevelopment Commission. The Redevelopment Commission, again, appropriated $2 million to this individual for 30 acres of ground so that a road could be developed so they could build spec locations on this 30-acre property. The Redevelopment Commission's funds come from the TIF district. The TIF district in the northern part of Indiana, northern part of Michigan City, which is combined now, a south TIF and a north TIF, for the dual track system, has 37 or 38 vacant properties within the northern part of the city. Why should we continue to give this developer $2 million to develop a speculative project south of town when we have 37 vacant lots in the north end of Michigan City? It just doesn't make sense.
Well, they're using the logic of build it and they will come. We've built it, they're not here yet. Do we build more?
Build more spec properties. It's under the concept of a spec property. Speculation. They are speculating over the next 30 years that this particular parcel south of town is going to grow. Possibly it would grow under its own impetus. It possibly could happen. But what we've got, it just doesn't make sense. We've got vacant property on our north end that should be utilized. And it's setting vacant for the geese to fly into town in the summertime so that they got someplace to graze.
You got properties on Cleveland that are for lease that if we build it, they will come.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just throw out one thing that I don't think people are quite that much aware of yet. But we've talked about this before. Franciscan has bought the old Marquette Mall. Now, I am told that one of the things they will do right off the bat is totally redo that tower. They're looking to put doctor's offices and maybe some other professional type offices in that building. Now, for the rest of the plan, I don't have any thought process as to what they're going to do with it, but I know that they plan on really redoing that tower building and using it mostly for doctor's offices, but maybe also for some other professionals. I am also told that they will then move all of their facilities that they have on Cool Spring Avenue and a couple of other places into that facility.
2 minutes.
And Bob, that makes sense. That's economic development.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not taking vacant land and putting a speculative, 30-year speculative project on vacant land. It just doesn't make sense. Who are pulling the strings in the redevelopment commission?
I think if they would like to do it, let them do it, but don't give them $2 million.
But they did. It's been approved. It's been voted on and approved.
You got 1 minute.
Oh.
Go IU. I
Go
will tell
IU.
you that I think they are the team, everything they're cracked up to be, and it's going to be a fun time, fun weekend.
When you hear this, Hoosiers, that's their latest chant. Hoosiers.
Go IU and put Notre Dame in Division 4.
Bear down, Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
What the hell did Notre Dame ever do to you?
They're not making sense. They're not making sense.
Okay.
Notre Dame's a private
I used
school.
to,
They don't have.
we're down, we're at last minute. Here we go. I'm going to close here. Closing statement. Thank you for watching. Your input as to improvements and criticism of this program is greatly appreciated. Please contact show's co-producers Bob Pollock, Dave Bila, or Tony Hendricks with your comments. So you can email Bob at skrpollock@gmail.com, Dave at djbila1 at hotmail.com, or Tony at emailagm@yahoo.com, or you may direct your ideas for any future shows to our one and only staff writer, Sarah Bellum. Showing of our program will be Saturday morning at 10 a.m., also on Mondays and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m., and numerous times throughout the week on Channel 99. You may also like to, if you missed all that concept, you might also like to punch in 99 Navigate News and Views, and you'll see us on YouTube. I want to thank everybody for watching, and make it a good day.